Bro.
Hi, this is Justin Roberts, and you are listening to 3 Count Thursday. Hope you enjoy it.
A little bit of the bubbly.
I did it for The Rock.
Give me what I want.
Everyone has a price for the $1 Million Man.
It's about the 14 years it took me to go from undesirable to un-goddamn deniable. Mamma mia!
3 ain't enough now, I need 5. Welcome in Jim, Ryan, Matt, Tim, and intern Mark.
They think they got the answers. I change the questions.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 3 Count Thursday, live here on our Facebook page, of course, via Zoom, social distance, of course. And we are glad to be with you here again on a Thursday night. We are the podcast of the millennium. We're closing out another month, and the wars are heating up, all that and much more. Make sure you go to 3countthursday.com, and there you'll find our social media links, our YouTube page, our merchandise at whatamaneuver.net. Oh, Tim's still not here. Our Patreon page at patreon.com/3countthursday. Our home network, of course, is NGSC Sports. We also stream daily at leapsports.com. Ryan, that would be Ryan, why are you? Ryan, you're not muted, Ryan. Ryan, why are you? LEEIBsports.com, because Ryan wants to be difficult. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. I'm doing well. It's a shame. We'll someday figure out Ryan's mic issues.
Yeah, eventually.
To talk like when the show ends.
You had me muted. I'm pissed.
I didn't have you muted.
I didn't touch the goddamn thing.
I unmuted everybody.
It's ridiculous. It's Whatamaneuver and LEEIBsports.com.
Thank you, Ryan.
Shit, I didn't mute myself.
Yeah, well, I unmuted you. Matt was unmuted. I didn't
Well,
do anything different. There's a button that says mute all, and there's a button that says unmute all.
Oh, it didn't unmute all.
Well,
very upset.
Well, I'm sorry. I hope you can forgive me, but you're just gonna have to
Shut your ass.
But also go to store.collarandelbowbrand.com. Use promo code 3count for 10% off of each and every order over there. Of course, this week, unfortunately, again, starting off on a sad note, on Saturday, Stardom confirmed the passing of Hana Kimura at the age of 22 years old, a absolute rising star in the business. The age of 22, it's believed that she took her own life due to cyberbullying and the aftermath of that. And it's a horrible situation. I'm not going to to pretend that I'm a huge Stardom fan. I'm not going to I don't know that I've seen more than maybe 1 or 2 Hana Kimura matches, but that's not the point. The point is that words matter. The things we say to people matter. And unfortunately, there's a 22-year-old rising star in the professional wrestling industry, and a 22-year-old person that is no longer on this planet because of people and the disgusting things that they say. This has been an unfortunate week for that. There was a situation with a YouTube wrestling podcast and Alexa Bliss. this week. And so I think the thing that's most important here, and not just in the climate of the world that we're in right now, with just unimaginable like sadness and confusion and anxiety and things like that are going to make anything to the negative even worse. But just in general, we have to be better. We need to be better. And we felt that it was our responsibility to start off the show by remembering and recognizing a talent and a by all accounts tremendous person that's no longer here.
Yeah, Jim, this one, I think you hit the nail on the head. You don't have to be a huge Stardom fan to recognize the impact that this has had on, not just the Japanese wrestling community, but the wrestling community as a whole. Really, rallied around her. I mean, so far there's major news outlets that have really covered this story. Variety, the Washington Post, CNN, all having big stories about it. And hopefully, and I'm not sure, I didn't follow up on it, but it's really stirred the Japanese government to regulate cyberbullying and start creating new laws. So, from this horrible tragedy, hopefully we can find a silver lining in something like this, and that it may never happen again, or at least be regulated differently so that it be much harder to happen again.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. It's a shame now. Two weeks in a row now we've had to open the show just talking about unfortunate news, two very different circumstances, but still just the loss of life. And in this case, one that could have been avoided if people can just kind of control what they say online. Just be mindful of what you're saying about people. I know we've made jokes here and there, but there's a level to it. We certainly don't go to the point that it's going to like be persistent. And I think we all kind of self-check each other too, if we ever even kind of would get close to that line. And I don't think that we ever have. So, it's just sad that, now 2 weeks in a row. And again, just like with Shad, everyone has just only good things to say about Hana Kimura. And, obviously they would. So you're going to want to remember someone the right way. But every story that we've heard from just every fan that interacted with her, all the wrestlers, the backstage stuff just seemed like the nicest, most genuine person, and just extremely talented in the ring as well. So a very bright future just cut short, all because people just wanted to be assholes online for whatever reason. And it just, I don't know that it ever will stop, but I really wish it would.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is as of Monday, a couple of days later, and I didn't have this like on the actual like topic list, but I think it all kind of ties together, and I don't know if everybody like in our audience is aware of like the JD from New York, this YouTuber wrestling podcast. I mean, he's got a pretty large following. There was a clip posted, some comments he made about Alexa Bliss, and somebody I guess had taken a clip from one of his shows and sent it to Alexa, and she actually addressed it, and it obviously once you get on that level, it there's going to be a lot more eyes that get on it that aren't necessarily going to see it before, when it's just and not to discredit anybody, because we are a show that is wrestling fans talking about wrestling every week, but it's when we're not on the level of like the top of the business. So when it gets to that level, more eyes get on it, and it became a huge story because Alexa addressed it, and then multiple people within the WWE and other top companies starting addressing it, and then it kind of snowballed, and he was receiving death threats and things like that from wrestling fans, and it's like what he said was horrible, and there's justifying what he said and what he said about Alexa Bliss, but in the same time, there's also a responsibility where you can call somebody out for being wrong, but there's also a line that you can't cross, because if you go across that line, if you begin attacking, threatening, etc., then you've gone down to that level. So, I think a great lesson to come from the tragedy of Hana Kimura, and the lessons that can be learned from a situation like JD from New York, is just be better with words. Like, you can't stop everybody from having a thought. You can't stop everybody from even saying something that they shouldn't say. But if you just, instead of being the first person to get a response out, acting on your first instinct, if you just wait, maybe let it breathe for a minute, and then, if you go back to it, then maybe you'll calm down. You can address something, but maybe in a different way. And I think that can be a lesson that's learned this week, is just all of us, everybody can be better, and just be better. Just be better.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on the JD thing. I don't want to by any means justify what he said. Do I believe what he said this time was stretching his like comedic license a little bit? I think he was trying to make a joke that just didn't land.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a history and you've repeatedly done things like this over and over and pushed the envelope, and kind of hid under the, well, it's just comedic license, I can make a joke about this because it's just a joke. When you go to that well too many times, you finally got caught. And I know we've taken, cheap shots at things like that, and never, overly sexualized or talked about an individual's, sex life or performance or anything like that. That is a line that we would never cross. But there's a big difference between making a joke and repeatedly like beating a horse, being a bad person, and finally getting called out on a main level. We've disagreed with this JD guy for how long? We've been blocked from this guy for months.
He blocked us. It has to be at least 5 or 6 months now.
We've called him out on bullshit and got blocked immediately. That's how he deals with people that push back. So he finally got dealt with on a level that he couldn't just block somebody on. So, there's a difference between making a joke and then downright bullying, and what we had saw from JD was the latter.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and JD kind of revels in that type of exposure that he gets. I know that's kind of always been his thing, and that's what some people do. That's not really the style of our show or a lot of the shows that we work with. But some people are just focused on the numbers, and to each their own. But certainly not warranting death threats, anything like that. So I can't condone that. But at the same time, JD kind of enjoyed that too, and really kind of played the victim card as hard as he possibly could. So just that whole situation was just unnecessary and kind of just an absolute joke. But again, to go to the extreme of death threats is obviously makes you no better than JD.
Yeah, I think when it first started blowing up, I think Bill Neville from the New Age Insiders, who is on our intro, I think he hit the nail on the head. He tweeted something along the lines of like, "This is how you've treated people for years on in this platform, and now you're getting it back." Obviously, that was, I think, before started receiving death threats and things like that, which again, never okay. Like, but when people call you out on your crap, like that's kind of something different. That's something that JD has done, and yeah, he's one of those people that if you disagree with him, it's a very quick on the block button. So
quicker than you, Big Jim.
Quicker than me, which is surprising.
Quick as JBL.
That's a tough one. Like Charlie says here. Charlie says here, he says from JD to Meltzer and anyone in between really need to check themselves. He wouldn't say it to her face. If he did, he'd get popped in the mouth. Exactly. Like it's the notion of the like the keyboard warrior is even if you're not necessarily anonymous, because obviously his face is out there. I don't know if JD or whatever the JD stands for. His name or his persona is out there, so he's not totally anonymous, but he's sitting in his house. He's sitting in his YouTube studio or whatever he wants to call it. So he does have a degree of anonymity there. Ryan, I just noticed that we both have Brie mode shirts hanging up behind us this week.
It's a good day. It's a good day. It's the better of the two bellows.
What's on tap this week, Jim?
I'm finishing off the pumpkin ales. The last two of my Dogfish Head pumpkin ales. And then
and I'm finishing off a tasty bottle of Deer Park.
And then I brought down one Coors Light just for good measure if I get through the two bottles. What do you got this week,
Matt? So first drink I flashed up was the Jenny Said from Single Cut. Pretty solid. And now a standard High Alive from Cigar City down in Florida. So two very good IPAs if you enjoy IPAs.
High Alive. Isn't that game with like the curved the curved thrower? I don't know what the term is.
I'll tell you, if High Alive came on ESPN tomorrow, they'd have a new Avid fame.
Dude, no shit. my first memory of High Alive was Jackass. When they were flinging the fruit and stuff at, I think it was like Knoxville and Steve-O. And immediately I was like, I don't know what this sport is, but I would watch it.
If you see my name flashing up, it says Matt Tier 2, Ryan Tier 3. That's because my mic works. so maybe by next week, Ryan will be on Tier 2 with me. Jim's obviously still at the top as the host.
Oh, I mean, obviously.
Breaks my fucking.
Yeah, Charlie.
Talk about bullying, and here we go.
Shut your ass.
Charlie,
More of it.
You fathead.
That's
Charlie,
even worse.
Yeah, Charlie, I am not supporting the returning Caps. Big news this week in the sports world. The NHL has mapped out their return to play. It was a report this afternoon that the earliest that camps would begin would be July 10th. So I have a little bit of time to bust out the old red, white, and blue, but fingers crossed that all of this craziness with the pandemic will begin to calm down, and we'll soon be able to get back to something.
Is it even worth it? Like, I know they're kicking around that with the NBA too, and for me, like, if we're not even starting like warm-ups and camps till July and finishing the season in September, I mean, I might as well rather just wait until October to start the seasons again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call. Like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of not having a year where the championship isn't determined. The Stanley Cup, like, even on seasons that are lost, they have like a block for the names, because like there's a block for the lockout season in the early 2000s. The way I look at it is that they can do it safely, and not like take resources from like other states and things like that. I'm all for it, but and again, with a month and a half approximately until it would resume, there's obviously still a possibility that this doesn't even happen. So I think if at this point, if there's any sort of a speed bump, it's probably just going to be canceled.
Yeah.
And baseball don't look good right now. So the next like team sports we might have would be probably football at this point, but golf is back next weekend. NASCAR has been back. So I've actually been watching NASCAR, which is pretty wild, because that's like never been my thing, but you know what, it's a live sports, and it's given me something to watch outside of like wrestling and HGTV. So
NASCAR is a blast to go to live. If you ever get a chance to catch a race live, go down and get beard up, get cooked in the fucking sun, and depends what race you go to if you got the Coke or not. But score yourself. I don't know. They used to give out like free packs of cigarettes and shit. I don't know if they do that anymore.
They used to give out free Coke.
Get some free Coke and
Oh,
A little bit of the drink some of the bubbly. They got corn dogs fucking at every food stand. So it's great. Corn dogs galore.
Yeah, I imagine.
What was that, Matt?
Oh, yes.
I'm sure they have pie. Do they ever have food fights?
Jim,
But I know if there's one thing I know about NASCAR, it's a similar to a degree demographic to wrestling. So I know there's plenty of
Merchandising.
there's plenty of that, I'm sure. Yeah, Devin says, hope you guys have a good week. I hope you have a good week, Devin. And everybody that's joining in, give us a share. We'd appreciate that. All right, we're going to go back. We're going to talk about Double or Nothing this past weekend. Of course, AEW's pay-per-view originally was supposed to be in Las Vegas, but now was in the home of the Jacksonville Jaguars and Tony Khan and AEW, of course, Daly's Place. Saturday night. Overall, I thought the show was really good. I didn't start watching, I think, until the Cody match, I believe, till I finally got logged in. I know you guys were able to catch the whole thing. But let's talk about the casino ladder match, because obviously there was a mystery opponent that was going to join the fracas, and that mystery opponent turned out to be Brian Cage.
Drew Gulak.
Ooh, no.
Oh.
No, whoops. Turned out to be Brian Cage, and big man just dominated that whole thing, didn't he? Interesting twist, having Taz like as his Paul Heyman, for lack of a better description. But what are your thoughts on Brian Cage walking in and basically getting a title shot, guaranteed title shot on his first night in?
Absolutely zero problem with it, Jim.
What is that supposed to mean?
The guy won a match with 8 other competitors. He climbed the ladder. He grabbed the chip. It is no different. It's a great surprise. I don't think it was a given that your secret surprise person was going to win until you saw that it was Brian Cage. And something, make a Smashing Pumpkins joke here.
Matt, your thoughts on Brian Cage walking in and winning the whole thing?
Why you gotta say it like that?
Well, he won the whole thing. What do you want me to say? He won the casino chip.
You're a son of a bitch.
What?
Why are you saying it like that?
What? Saying it like what?
Yeah,
Now, let's talk about your surprise at Brian Cage showing up at Double or Nothing
and winning the casino ladder match
on his first night ever in the company.
All factual statements. Matt, if Ryan would stop interrupting you.
I mean, I think my question then would be, I mean, it's not like this is just exclusive to AEW. It's happened in WWE before. So, I mean, hell, Sting lost his first match in WWE and then was put in the title match, right? With Seth Rollins.
Don't bring that up. Nope. Don't bring that up, Matt.
So I can't really say there's much of an issue with it. That wouldn't have been my first choice to win that, but I don't have a necessary issue. It's a big name. It makes sense. I mean, Brody Lee was inserted right into the title picture too. So,
oh yeah, I mean, I have thoughts about that as well. Like, here's the thing: Brian Cage, obviously, you look at the guy. He is, and especially in that sort of a match, when I mean, your only other guy, physically speaking, that matches Brian Cage would be Luchasaurus. And Dinosaur got thrown the fuck around that ring too. But so when you're in there with guys that are barely taller than the second rope, it is absolutely really believable that Brian Cage can walk in and win on opening night. But like, so I don't have a problem.
Like this was a burial to the level of Shayna Baszler to Elimination Chamber. It's not like he didn't take bumps or anything. He was buried under the big chip for a while.
Look. I'm having a little bit of fun. Like, the only like issue, so to speak, that I have with Brian Cage walking in and getting the title shot, and even to an extent, Brody Lee getting a title shot pretty damn quick from when he walks in to AEW is from their onset. This was the company that told us like that sort of thing probably wasn't going to happen. Like wins and losses matter, and we have a standings board, and if you don't have a winning record, then you're going to fall down the standing boards, and we're going to that's how we determine things. Like that was been my gripe with them to a degree. And again, I'm not being overly critical. I'm saying this with a little bit of tongue in cheek because
is Brian Cage a WWE guy at all ever?
He is not.
I'll say I don't
now I understand, Jim. Okay.
But he is the only person in that match with a former WWE guy.
Well, that's true. That is true. But like, and it goes down to the tag team thing because I've harped on like the tag team rules, which again, and especially right now, and I've said this about WWE things, and I am being a little bit tongue in cheek and having a little bit of fun with this but like the tag team thing, you told us there's gonna be all these rules, and then they don't matter anyway. So like that was my only. Lou brings up a good point. I'm gonna give Lou a ding if I can find the damn ding. He says Brian Cage is undefeated, so he's not wrong there. You got me, Lou. You got me, Lou. You son of a bitch. Well done. Cheers to you. But no, like in terms of, I mean, it's gonna get eyes on the product. I mean, AEW, like last night, Dynamite has had its highest rating in 10 weeks. NXT on the other side had its highest rating in 14 weeks. Like the ratings were 800 something and 700 something. So like whatever both companies were doing this week, it worked. And Brian Cage versus Moxley at Fyter Fest, whenever it's going to be, wherever it's going to be, should be a fantastic match. So yeah, I mean, there's a little part of me that's like, man, like it's like hot shot after hot shot. They did it with Chris Statlander when she came in and was supposed to get the title shot for the women's title right away. And it like, to me, and I've thought this for a while, like AEW should just not have the wins and losses in the standings board. That would to me make anybody who truly has issues with this, because I did see some people that were like that took it a little bit too seriously. That would eliminate that situation if you just did away with like wins and losses matter, because guess what, it's wrestling. Like let's not pretend it isn't what it is. That's my only thought on that. The match I went, Darby Allin, that guy is fucking crazy. Like that guy is freaking nuts. I still don't know if I truly get Darby Allin, but like he's starting to grow on me a little bit. Like I'll say that.
I mean, yeah, he's nuts. He's married to Priscilla Kelly.
Well, ain't that the truth? But no, I thought it was
Jim, all in all, I don't think you did a really bad job burying this match of all non-WWE guys. We only took about 10 minutes to do it. There was not a single WWE guy in this match, so not bad. Not bad.
Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana was a
Ow,
WWE
get the fuck out of here with Scott Colton.
You're right. This didn't have any. There was 2 straight matches didn't have any WWE guys. It's crazy. I didn't see MJF versus Jungle Boy. I've heard decent things.
Match of the night.
Really?
Fantastic match on my top 5 list.
No shit. Okay, so here's a real life question.
You haven't had much great wrestling, Matt. Don't give me that fucking look. It's early. It's on my top 5.
I enjoyed the match thoroughly. Top 5 is a stretch, but
there's 2 matches from this show that are on my top list. There's 2 matches from this show that are on my top. I feel like, and we may have to break up the top list for this year and do like top 5 cinematic matches and top 5 regular matches, because I'm already going to tell you, there's 4 cinematic matches out of 4 that have happened that are on my top list for the year. So we may need to discuss that towards the end of the year. But Do we know if when you order a show on BR Live, if you can go back and watch the replay at any time?
Believe so, yeah.
Okay, so I may have to do that just to watch that MJF match.
Yeah, I think if you purchase it, it's like in your library on Bleacher Report.
Okay, well
I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Yeah,
that is, yeah.
Because I definitely didn't watch Wrestle Kingdom in one sitting. I think I like went back.
Who does?
A few days later, and it was still like there for me to watch. So
okay. Good. That's good to know. If you're following along with us in the live video, give it a share. Get as many people in here as possible. We'd appreciate that. TNT title match. I thought it was really good. Cody getting the title, I have absolutely no issue with. The belt itself, I was very lukewarm on the design, but they stressed from the onset of that match that the title is not complete. That due to the shutdowns and the pandemic, that the maker of the belt was not able to finish the gold plating. So I will hold out my final judgment on the title until it is completed. But that TNT logo is awful big. I will say that it is awful big in the middle there. But again, I'm gonna see how they finish that up. Let's see here.
What is, in your opinion, the worst looking belt?
Currently or all time?
I mean, let's go like main companies like Impact, Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, WCW even.
Again, currently or all time?
All time.
Divas title.
Okay.
Divas title's the worst. The worst currently to me is probably the US title. I have never liked this version of the US title. I always loved the WCW one, and this one is just it's never looked great. What do you got? What is your guys' worst title?
It's clearly the 24/7 championship. It is the ugliest thing I've ever seen in the history of ever. The old hardcore title looks better than the 24/7 championship.
I was actually a fan of the old hardcore title. I do hate the 24/7 championship. I don't like the white of the IC title. That always just kind of for me. I always hated the tag team champs when they were like the pennies.
Oh,
hated those. I mean, there have been some bad belts, but this TNT one is up there. Like
those penny tag team titles are so bad that there was one point, like after they were done, after they were switched to the Raw and SmackDown, the not the commemorative, the plastic ones, the regular full size with metal plates of those were on the shop. It was like a huge clearance thing, and they were like $79, and I didn't pull the trigger. I'm like, these things are horrible. Like, I don't want that in my collection.
79 is too much for that.
Yeah.
Do you get two of them for $79? Because even then, like,
yeah, even then, that's a put. Like, I wouldn't even want to like put that on you guys. Like, here, I bought one of these. Like, here's I don't think the 24/7 title looks great, but in the same time, like, I don't think it's really meant to look great. Like, you know what I mean? It is in a way kind of like a throwaway title. Like the US title, the Divas title, those were never like throwaway belt. Like, you know what I mean? The 24/7 title is something that it can be won and lost at any time. It's gonna get dinged up, whatever. So why put a lot of money into it? Like, is the way I've kind of looked at it. But like the Divas title, that's your women's title. Your US title, that's like your, at one point when the Intercontinental title went away, that was your mid-card title. And it just looked bad.
I hate the reboot of the IC title. I think it's trash. Then I will remove my vote from the 24/7 and say the new reboot of the IC title. It's absolute garbage.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but it's not as good as the classic one. I will.
If I had to purchase the United States Championship today, as is, or the IC title, I'm buying the US Championship.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying that new Intercontinental title over the US title.
The white strap is just.
Well, no, that doesn't have the white. Remember, they have a new one.
Oh, I totally blanked on that.
Yeah.
I feel like this incarnation of the Intercontinental title is going to go down with like the Rocky Maivia incarnation of the big oval. I feel like it's going to be around for a little while. They're going to go back to a classic design, and we're going to try and forget that it ever happened.
I hope so. Nobody can hold it.
Exactly. It just keeps going away. AEW World Heavyweight Championship match. Moxley retains over Brody Lee by technical submission. I loved this match. I absolutely loved this match. It's one of the two that is now on my top matches of the year. I love, like, it was physical. They went at it, and yeah, I absolutely love this match.
You skipped over your girl Chris Statlander.
What? I must have missed that. Must have missed that match. It was
That's
so
a shame.
fast.
It was a great match. It's a good match, Jim. And then that barn burner with Sean Spears and Dustin Rhodes, that was trash.
What a bad match.
Like, here's the deal. I don't want to sound like we're praising AEW too much here. That match was shit.
It was awful.
Awful match.
The underwear spot was corny and dumb. Like, here's, like, again, if you're gonna tell me, and it's fine that they're not, like, they are sports entertainment. We've touched on that numerous times on this show, but like, they were supposed to be like the new, like, the alternative wrestling brand, and they're not. They're sports entertainment. They're fine. They're doing it very well. They are absolutely doing it very well. They did a lot of things over the past 7 days that have really set them up for I think some possibly major success and getting a lot of eyes on their product. But yeah, that match was brutal.
Yeah, that was really brutal. Are you going to circle back to the women's championship? Because I feel like that was the best women's match AEW's had since their.
Yes, we can. Let's touch on that.
I don't want to skip that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, let's hit on that. Let's hit on that now. Well, yeah, let's finish talking about the world title, and then we'll go back to the women's.
All right. Yeah, I thought it was a great match. I love the technical submission aspect of it. Brody Lee does fall to 5-1 in the rankings. Moxley's still undefeated. I thought it was a fantastic match. Well done. I greater than sign Moxley over Dean Ambrose for sure.
I'll co-sign that.
It's the greater than sign, though, not the heart.
I heart him too. I don't care. I heart him too.
I would say I heart John Moxley. I'll co-sign
I'll say that. It's 2020. I can say that. Yeah, I heart John Moxley.
Okay.
I heart you too, Matt.
I appreciate that.
I co-sign that as well.
It was mutual. A lot of love in this room, or on this Zoom.
Oh, good God! Hold on, mouse over there.
No, I thought that was a fantastic match. I have said again and again and again, I will not stop saying Brody Lee, one of the best technical wrestlers in wrestling. He showed that off in that match. The finish was fantastic. I mean, nothing bad to say about that at all. From start to finish, I was just fully hooked. I will heart and greater than sign John Moxley over Dean Ambrose. I mean, I was never really big into Dean. I think he was always my least favorite of the Shield.
Yeah, Dean Ambrose, much like Mabel, was definitely the third man.
Right. And so, I mean, him being in the title picture in WWE never made sense to me, but I mean, he wears that crown well with AEW. I think it's just a whole different attitude. And it's refreshing to see because, you know, if you've seen his indie stuff, Ryan, I know you did with his best of from CZW, the company that shall not be named. It was kind of refreshing to see him like he's going back to his roots, not to that extreme, but still enjoying wrestling, it looks like again. Whereas in WWE, he just kind of looked like he was there. But now he looks like he's passionate again, and it's paying off in the ring big time. Obviously because he has the belt, but I mean, he's putting on great matches every single time.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, let's go back to it was the no DQ, no count out for the AEW Women's World Title. Sheeta defeating Nyla Rose, and to me that was a huge shock. I did not see this title moving. But yeah, 100%, Ryan. This without a doubt was the best women's match that AEW has had so far. this match was really, really good. And, you know, I think part of it had to do with the fact that it was no DQ and no count out. You were able to, you know, and that's not saying that either of these women or any of the women in AEW aren't talented inside the ropes and inside the confines of a standard professional wrestling match. However, you know, with the story that was told leading up to this and the match itself, you know, having this match, no DQ, no count out, was absolutely, you know, I think the right call, and they were able to pull it off really well. Ryan,
Yeah.
you okay? I didn't know if you froze there for a second.
Yeah. No, why would I have done that?
I don't know.
It's the mute option. That's the problem. Yeah, dude, I think it's AEW's greatest women's match so far. I love the hardcore aspect to it. You have somebody like, you know, Nyla Rose that can take some of these shots as well. Sheeta, I think, it was her best outing as well. So yeah, all around really, really good women's championship match. The best one they've had so far, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Not the outcome that I was expecting. So I did appreciate that finish. And I mean, it was solid. I didn't know what to expect kind of going in based on what we saw, like with the injury to Britt Baker. I think that kind of threw a wrench and everything. I don't know if that necessarily changes the outcome if she doesn't get injured, but either way, I mean, it's still a great finish. They have a lot that they can do with that women's division now. We're starting to see what they can do. I know we've all kind of been critical of the women's division with AEW because they do have a lot of talent there. They're not necessarily doing much with it, but now I think they have the ability to extend those storylines, make great feuds. I think we'll see a lot more of that. So I'm excited to see what AEW does now with that momentum that they can carry in. And I'm also glad that Jim didn't make any or take any jabs at Nyla Rose.
Whoa. I resent that, sir. Devin is not happy that Nyla did not win. Yeah, I mean, I was very surprised. I like your new name there, Matt. That's really good. I have no idea how long ago you switched that. I just noticed it. But yeah, so if you're not watching on the video, you know, first off, shame on you. But
does that mean I'm tier 2 now? Am I tier 2?
No,
I don't think.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
I thought I bumped up there.
Yeah, you did not. But yeah, man, I don't know why you would say that I would do that. This doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the show closed with what was a pre-shot cinematic match that has kind of been the norm when it comes to wrestling pay-per-views in the empty building era of professional wrestling. And this one, much like the ones before it, did not disappoint. This was AEW's first go at it. And I you know, they used all of the resources they had in a NFL football stadium. And you know, between Adam Page on the horse running down Sammy Guevara, you had the golf cart again. You had Hangman Page and Jake Hager just in a bar, not giving two shits about the match, just toasting each other. You know, you had the pool with the water from the Lake of Reincarnation. You know, every version of Matt Hardy represented. Just beginning to, and then of course the the move to finish it off just was they hit it out of the park. They absolutely hit it out of the park. This match was really, really good. 34 minutes long. Did not feel like 34 minutes. At no point did I feel like, oh my God, like this is just wearing on and on. Like it was none of that. I think that, you know, this was an A+ effort by AEW.
Yeah, this one was a real special match. This one was there's gonna have to come a time where we hit the cinematic match reset button and we start seeing some stuff rehashed. This was totally different than Boneyard, totally different than Firefly Funhouse, completely different than the race to the top of McMahon Mansion or whatever we call it. I loved everything about this match. I thought it was so good. The athleticism of the Bucks, doing the 100 yards of moves. I love the pull spot to see like version 1 Matt Hardy come out and then Team Extreme Matt Hardy come out while going in as the broken character. I thought it was brilliant. We actually saw that. I kind of called back.
Yeah, last night
on AEW last night. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. But man, what a fun match to watch. 34 minutes went by very fast.
Sure did.
There was no point where I was like, man, this match is just dragging on, because they were able to tell everybody's different story throughout the football stadium, separately. Boy, they kind of wrecked that one bar a bit.
Yeah, well, put it this way, there's 3 months until the NFL season. Questionable still whether or not there'll be fans in attendance. So you got some time. Hell, maybe they were looking at redoing that before this season anyway. So that was part of the demo on it.
Yeah, to me, easily match of the night. It felt like they just took everything that we wanted Money in the Bank to be, and they just did it better, in my opinion. I mean, the bar scene itself, I popped for that one for sure. In the pool, just fantastic. The finish I thought was great. A lot of good spots for like wrestling fans too. So it wasn't just all pure like cinematic production level. They kind of put like a nice little bow on the night with everything that they did with that. So just hats off to everyone involved in that, because I mean it took a lot of definitely a lot of choreography to get everything that they wanted to do into that match. I mean, it was just spot after spot after spot, and it wasn't boring. Like you said, it didn't drag. It all felt to just flow, and I just wanted more of it when it was done. Like the finish, my only issue was just that I did not want that to be done. I wanted to see more of that match. So I would like to see that again someday. Even if like we get live wrestling back, I mean, I don't know that they can do a stadium stampede with a live crowd, but if they can get something close to that, it would be hats off to whoever.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that's something that companies are going to have to decide, when fans can finally once again be at shows. Like, I don't think we're going to see a cinematic match every month when fans return, but like, if you give me, WWE Fastlane, and you give me a 2-hour in-building show, maybe you set your price point on tickets a little bit lower for Fastlane, and so that you're not shorting the fans that do buy tickets, but you give us a 2-hour pay-per-view in-house, and then you give us a cinematic match. Like, I think there's a place for these type of things, even once we get back to live crowd wrestling. It shouldn't be abused, and it shouldn't be every month, but I think there's definitely a place for it.
Like at Fastlane.
Like at Fastlane. Now let's do, because Devin says he liked this match a little bit more than Money in the Bank. I would agree with that statement. Like, sitting here right now, there's been 4 cinematic matches: Boneyard, Funhouse, Money in the Bank, and this. Like, how would you rank yours? For me, Boneyard, Funhouse, this, and it's real close between the Firefly Funhouse and this one. And then like Money in the Bank goes well behind. And I enjoyed Money in the Bank, but I do agree that at points it missed. Now, it did give us things like, but like I do think it missed at times. So I will agree with that. So yeah, mine is Boneyard, Funhouse, this, and Money in the Bank.
Yeah, Jim, you're gonna Boneyard number 1. This is right behind the Boneyard, though. I thought this was really, really good. And then further off in the distance would be
Oh, hi, Mark.
Funhouse and the Stampede.
Sorry, I was just being a dick. How would you rank yours?
Boneyard's number one for me as well. The only reason, and I absolutely loved the Firefly Funhouse. So it pains me to put that third. Just for the wrestling aspect, I'm putting the Stadium Stampede above it because we got so much more wrestling in that than we did in Firefly Funhouse. I loved everything about that though. And then Money in the Bank is a very distant fourth for me.
I think for me, the reason I put the Funhouse above, slightly above this one, is because like there was still such a.
No.
What's that?
I don't know how you didn't high mark yourself when you put Firefly Funhouse above.
Oh, hi, Mark.
But like one of the reasons I did it too is because there was still part of me that had this fear that they were going to big match John in the Firefly Funhouse, and that Bray Wyatt was going to lose. So like the fact that they didn't do that gives it that little bit of an edge
Hi, Mark.
that I needed.
We didn't really talk about it, but hats off to the coaches challenge angle of that. I mean that was just absolutely like Jericho going into the booth as well. Just that whole part was
Yeah, I mean
there was another flag. What was the other? Oh, Rick Knox for excessive celebration. Right. Okay.
That, and it was like the entrances. They had like the NFL entrances. They had team uniforms. Like it just from top to bottom, this thing was executed so well. I didn't see if there was any details about like the length of the shoot, or anything like that. Like that came out after the Boneyard match, because we know the Boneyard match was like an 8-hour film shoot with like 5 cameras and all of that stuff. So like, I didn't see that from this. Mark, turn your camera on.
Oh, hi, Mark.
But yeah, I mean they executed this really, really well. Devin says his Boneyard Funhouse Stadium and Money in the Bank. Mark, how we do? What is? Look at that hat.
There it is.
Is that a Saturday's Market pickup?
Actually, yes, it is. It is a Saturday's Market pickup.
R.I.P. Saturday's Market. They're turning that into like apartments or something, aren't they?
Yeah, something. Actually, I think a warehouse is going in.
Okay.
Part of it, and there's apartments behind it. But right now, Amazon's using it for all their vans.
Oh no shit! How about that?
It's crazy. There's probably 100 or more of them over there.
No kidding.
R.I.P. to Harambe as well. Now that Marcus joined us.
I heard that Harambe was trying to warn us about the coronavirus, and the Illuminati got him. I believe that was the truth came out about that. So, Ryan can't. We got to move on. We got to move on from that. Ryan can't handle that one.
He's getting emotional.
He is definitely getting emotional. All right, let's great. Mark, did you see Double or Nothing? I don't know if we had discussed that over the weekend.
No, I didn't. I saw the results of it, but I really would like to see it. Does anybody have a link?
Yeah, we can probably hook you up.
All right.
Charlie says he may get hate for this, but after Shad, they shouldn't have put the Matt Hardy poll segment in them. I disagree. I mean, I
shouldn't have said you're going to drown the guy. They can do it without saying drowning, and that's where they screwed up.
That probably couldn't have been, but I didn't watch that. I didn't see that segment of the match and make that connection. So I don't necessarily think it was in bad taste, but yeah, I think they could have probably, you're right, Ryan, probably done without the drowning thing. Charlie does say, and again, this is, you can check the comments on the video. This is not me saying it. If the E did that, they would get crucified.
You did Charlie to say that.
You can't prove that, and delete message. Let's Matt and Ryan and I, let's give a grade on Double or Nothing. I will give this thing, I'll give it a solid A. I thought the show overall was really, really good. Again, I didn't even see yet the ladder match or the MJF and Jungle Boy match, and I'm giving it an A. I thought it was really, really good. A couple of stinkers in there, but overall, really, really a good effort put forth by AEW.
Yeah, I agree with the effort. I think you just grade on a higher curve than I do typically. I want, like perfection from an A plus show. So I'm gonna stick with the B. I feel like it was a solid B show. There's nothing to be ashamed of with a show like that. I thought it was really, really good. And for that they would get a B.
Yeah, my initial thought was B as well. But with Jim grading so high, I'll still stick with B. There were that were duds for me, but I think they had some really solid stuff in there. It wouldn't be perfection. You know what? Plus an 88.
All right. Let's see here. Let's move on to the old 3-count question of the week.
The 3-count question of the week.
Devin gives the show a B. Oh, what is that? Chewy IPA? Is that like Chewbacca, Matt?
It is.
Very nice. Very nice. Let's move on here to 3-count question of the week. We put it out to our social media base. Who is the best wrestler to never win the WWE or WWF championship title? I have mine right off the bat, and I'm going to go with the man that I used the picture in the this episode's main picture, and that is Owen Hart. He had won it at a house show, I believe, one time, but it was never officially on the record, or it was a taping, and then I guess there was a referee bump, I think, was the spot, and then the match got thrown out. So Owen Hart never officially a world champion in the WWE. But like, I mean, I've said for a long time, regardless of Bret Hart being my all-time favorite wrestler, that if Owen Hart gets to finish his career, and I think Jericho hits the nail on the head in the Dark Side episode when he says that, if you look at the guys that came into the WWE not long after Owen Hart's death, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, those guys, like the career resurgence that Owen Hart could have had, and to finish off his career, I mean, would have just been absolutely incredible. So for me, the answer to this question will probably always and forever be Owen Hart. Matt, let's go to you.
Thanks. Glad I get to go from his thunder, since I know that he made a whole ass list for this. So there's basically a few. As a big DX mark, I'm always going to say Rick Rude not winning the title is kind of a short sight. As a fan of technical wrestling, but for me, overall, go with Roddy Piper as best wrestler to not win.
All right, Roddy Piper for Matt. Ryan, what say you?
I'm gonna stay roughly, I guess, near the time frame with Matt, and I'm gonna go with Jake the Snake Roberts. Say a character I thought was such a genius character, and had the potential to really be something special, and just never got there. I don't know whether it was just not in the cards, his demon started to show, whatever it was, but Jake the Snake Roberts would be my pick.
And intern Mark, who do you got?
Well, going back to Jake the Snake Roberts, I think it was on his DVD where he said they started to put him with a program with Hogan, and he gave Hogan a DDT, and the fans started chanting DDT instead of booing him, and that put the kibosh on him having a world title match, which is interesting.
So is that your answer, Jake the Snake?
You know what? I was originally going to say Roddy Piper, but Jake the Snake's taken, so I'll go with Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. I think he could have had a great run.
Another good one. Devin says here, Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, or Owen Hart. Charlie says, "Hey, the intern showed up."
Hey,
I'm a
Yes,
little
he
late.
did.
Ryan, it was $1 Million Man on your list.
yeah, you want me to go through a list real quick? Because I prepared a list.
Well, I want to get to one in case you had it on there, but the Boar, our friend the Boar is War. He says, don't know about full-time wrestler, but he says for him the best entertainer to never win the WWF champion.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
The Boar has Shane McMahon as his best entertainer, sports entertainer or / character to never win. He says Shane McMahon.
Yeah, good call with that.
Right. Let's hit some names off of your list.
I
here.
can't argue with that.
I mean,
I can't.
height of his powers, Shane McMahon was over big time. And by height of his powers, I mean like just the other year, he was the best in the world.
He's Vince's son. Like, how did that never just get given to him? That's
I mean,
wild.
Vince won the title.
Yeah,
right.
sure did.
Wild. So I did some research, create a list of wrestlers to have never won the WWE championship or the big gold under the WWE banner. I don't know, just maybe some of these were never supposed to. Just names that I think, Matt, you mentioned Rick Rude. I know he's had matches for the championship. Wow, did he?
Yeah,
I don't know. Who was that?
the Warrior.
Warrior? That's the one that came to mind. Okay.
I think he had one match with Hogan too, but I think that was just for VHS tape. I forget what the Coliseum video back in the day.
Okay. Some of the other older wrestlers, I guess. Ricky Steamboat, always kind of stuck in the mid card, more WCW, NWA. Ted DiBiase made the list, the $1 Million Man. Jesse the Body Ventura, a little bit older than that. Bam Bam Bigelow, big boy, never won it. Name that came up that I think people often forget. King Kong Bundy was a big name that I saw on a lot of other people's lists. The British Bulldog and the Dynamite Kid both made a lot of people's lists. Dynamite being the better wrestler, Bulldog being the better look, the better sports entertainer, I suppose. We talked about Jimmy Snuka. That was on the pre-show. We were talking about that.
Yeah, check out that Patreon pre-show.
Yeah, Vader made the list, never winning the WWE championship. Arn Anderson and Chief J Strongbow. Strongbow a bit before my time. George the Animal Steele. A lot of feuds with Hulk Hogan and Bruno Sammartino, but never was given the championship during that time. And I think it's just a matter of them not hot potatoing the championship or moving it like they do today, kind of back in that era. Greg the Hammer Valentine, Honky Tonk Man made a few lists. The Junkyard Dog made a couple of lists. So those were all the older folks where the belt just didn't travel as much as it used to. Some of the new generation, up until more recently, Tatanka made some lists. And I was reading up, I forgot about his undefeated streak.
Yeah, he had a pretty long undefeated streak when he first came in, broken by Ludwig Borga.
Ludwig Borga, right. That was really the what moved his his streak. Dean Malenko came up on a couple of lists. I don't think he was ever big enough out of the Rascals to make an impact. But when you look at what some other people from the Rascals, meaning Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, were able to do, there's really no reason Dean Malenko, I guess, couldn't have.
Yeah, I just don't think he ever got to like that level.
I agree.
In WWE. Same with Perry Saturn. I mean, the four of them were great, and that Radical storyline was really good. But yeah, Eddie and Benoit, I think, were obviously the stars out of it. Like, Malenko, a tremendous in-ring competitor, but
Sure.
it just, there's a difference. Again, we've always kind of touched on it. There's a difference between being a great wrestler and being a great WWE superstar.
Lex Luger.
Yeah, somebody had Luger on Twitter.
Okay.
At Zach Fellows had Luger as one of them. We did have a couple. Jake the Snake was one. Mr. Perfect. Like a couple of them were on the same page. Jake, Mr. Perfect, Jeff Johnson on Twitter. He had current Samoa Joe.
Oh, okay.
But all time he had Jake the
Scott
Snake.
Hall was another one, right? Scott Hall. The list I saw had
Yeah, Scott Hall never won. Yeah.
had Barry.
Hall was always, I think, the next in line, and then something else happened, right? Yeah.
And Nikita Koloff. I don't know if you mentioned that, Ryan.
Koloff is a good one. To wrap up the list that I had, DDP never won a WWE championship in the WWE. 3-time WCW champion. Rikishi was one that I would never ever really thought about, but I was like, you can make the argument, I think, for Big Kish.
He was over big. He was
real big. Christian, obviously, in any more recent time frame, what he was able to do in like TNA.
Did he ever win like the WWE the big gold, like the world heavyweight title? I don't think he ever did.
I don't believe he did.
I know he didn't win like the WWE championship, but I don't think he even won like the big gold version.
And my big wrap up, Farouk, WWE kind of dropped the ball with him. Ken Shamrock, never held the very big over at the time. I think Ahmed Johnson made a few lists. Injury kind of derailed him way earlier, but I think he had the potential. Mr. Kennedy, who was just a bit outside of like my time in really enjoying and watching wrestling.
He was big,
but I know
definitely over.
He was over and he was up there. And the last but not least, in his entire time, Jerry the King Lawler, never a WWE champion.
I don't think he held any gold in the WWE.
Actually, you might be very right, Jim.
Like, I mean, he's been a mainstay since the early 90s. So like the fact that he didn't win an Intercontinental title, no, he wasn't always a full-time wrestler, but he never won the Intercontinental title. He never got involved in a tag. I mean, he's never really much of a tag guy. I'm surprised they didn't like do a Honky Tonk Man, Jerry the King Lawler tag title run like in the mid 90s.
Did Lawler ever have the hardcore title? I can't remember.
I honestly can't remember. Devin says Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship Extreme Rules 2011. So he did at least hold big gold. He did not hold the WWE title.
Okay.
Catching up. Go ahead.
The WWF, I looked up Lawler real quick. He won the Raw Rumble in 2011.
The Raw Rumble.
Right there. He is a 5-time Slammy Award winner, and he's a WWE Hall of Famer. Has never held a championship.
Never held a title.
WWE. Yeah.
Devin had Piper, Mr. Perfect, or Owen Hart. Charlie has Rude, Dusty, Tito Santana, Ron Simmons. So we hit on a couple of those. Right, catching up a couple of comments on Facebook. Ryan, you had said Paul Orndorff actually was one, which kind of surprises me. Back in the day, Orndorff, very very big in the 80s in the WWE, WWF obviously at the time. Nick says between Piper and Jake the Snake. Mike has Roddy Piper and Mr. Perfect. And Andrew says Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, followed by Hot Rod. Which, yeah, I mean, if you go back to it, I mean, and Steamboat had the Intercontinental run, and you go back then, and the Intercontinental title was kind of the title for guys like Steamboat. It was the worker title as opposed to the WWF title, which kind of got reserved more for guys like Hogan and Savage and Warrior and Sergeant Slaughter and guys like that were more on the sports entertainment side versus the wrestling side. So it was just a question. I don't, maybe it was watching the Owen Hart Dark Side of the Ring that kind of spurred that in my mind, and it came up to me over the weekend. Real quick, I don't know who caught the Wednesday Night Wars this week. Just want to touch on a couple of the big items from the two shows. Obviously, one of the big items out of yesterday was FTR showing up at Daly's Place last night. Obviously, from the WWE, the Revival. They were for a brief minute going to be called the Revolt. They are now FTR. Mark, is that Kirby?
That's
Oh
Kirby the
man!
Magnificent Fluffy Doggy's upset.
Oh no!
Oh, let me see him. He's so majestic.
Isn't his?
Come here,
It
you
should be his
majestic
nap
animal.
time, shouldn't it?
Where is he?
Oh, he's laying. He rolled over. He's laying on the floor.
Oh, there you
So
go.
upset.
He's
But
upset.
you know,
Hey, I'll be right back. Give me just a minute.
all right, sounds good. FTR
Him on the big bone.
making their AEW debut, going right after the Butcher and the Blade and the Young Bucks. So they are inserting themselves right into the tag team picture, which I mean they are the self-proclaimed, if nothing else, best tag team in the world. So definitely that kind of, it caught me off guard because I thought they were part of the 90-day no competes. So I was a little shocked, but I guess their release, they were granted full release. So they are there, and AEW confirming today that they are in fact elite.
Yeah, no more to be said. FTR.
Cody says that it is his plan to defend the TNT title every week on Dynamite. So very similar to a TV title, which the AEW had kind of hinted that they were going to bring a TV title into the mix. Jungle Jack Perry winning the Battle Royal. I love, like, the Battle Royal was a Battle Royal, nothing special about it. I thought the end sequence with Orange Cassidy, Jungle Jack Perry, Wardlow and MJF, once you got down to the final four, I thought that was executed really, really well. You already saw some of the dissension beginning, that seeds being planted between Wardlow and MJF with the the pre-match interview. The ending was executed really well. Kind of surprised Jungle Boy is the first challenger, but the dude's been on a roll. So that match will be next week on Dynamite. Jungle Jack Perry versus Cody for the TNT title.
Yeah, man, I've been really impressed with Jungle Jack as of late. I think he's executing very, very well.
Sauce it.
Probably one of the. I'm sorry, what was that?
Sauce it.
Oh yes, for sure, absolutely. Sauce him all up and down. He is clearly the King's or JR's favorite wrestler. He loves not calling him by his name. Yeah, I love everything about him. What a great talent, really is. Good talent.
He is really good. Really good.
The resemblance to his dad too is striking.
It is, man. Like, obviously body size a little bit different, but definitely in the face. Like,
I'm working through Riverdale now, and like every time Luke Perry pops up, I'm like, Jungle Boy.
Jungle Jack Perry. All right. Jimmy Havoc and Kip Sabian defeating SCU to become the #1 contenders for the tag titles. That kind of surprised me a little bit. But that match will also be next week on Dynamite. And then the winners will take on, or will defend the title, the winners will defend the titles at coming up at Fyter Fest, I believe, which they haven't announced when. They're just like dangling the kit whenever it's going to be. I'm like, okay, cool. I would imagine probably July, because I think it's the beginning of September is when All In or All Out will be. So you kind of bridge the gap between the two. And then it was pretty much confirmed that Brian Cage and Moxley for the AEW World Championship at Fyter Fest, whenever that will be. But I thought it was a really good episode. Now, the ending of the show, you had the pep rally for the Inner Circle. Also, Pro Wrestling Tees, you can get that Stadium Stampede Champions t-shirt for half price, by the way. They threw that up there today. So it started as the pep rally, and then when Sammy Guevara went to present a little bit of the bubbly and the cheese plate to Chris Jericho, the bottle was empty, the plate was empty, and Mike Tyson's music hit, and him and his entourage hit the ring, and it dissolved into a shoving match and a melee to close the show. Now here's the thing, in terms of getting eyes on your product, brilliant. Because if we're going the route of Jericho versus Tyson, I mean, you're gonna anytime. I mean, the video of Mike Tyson working out, a 10-second clip on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, grabbed the attention of the world. So this is going to get eyes on your product. That it is great from a business standpoint. I thought the segment sucked. I thought once you got to the point of Tyson's music hitting, it seemed disorganized. It didn't. I didn't think it was executed well. I think it felt like everybody was like waiting on the next line. It just felt like everybody was stepping on each other's feet. And to me, like, you know, I'm not going to do the, you know, well, it was Austin Tyson all over again. I get what they're doing. I didn't think that the segment was executed well at all. But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Jim, I agree with you. I don't think the segment went over the way it should. I think the end result is still the same. You have things like Sports Illustrated and ESPN talking about Mike Tyson in an AEW professional wrestling ring, and that's the end game, is to get people talking about Mike Tyson and about your brand. So you've done that regardless of how shoddy the segment actually went. And apparently Mike Tyson and his entourage just loves cheese trays, man. I mean they ate a lot of that. There was not a lot of cheese left.
Who doesn't love? Yeah, the salam was left, but the cheese was
not
gone.
a lot of cheese.
You know, but I'm surprised Taz, our old pal Taz, didn't grab that gabagool or whatever it was that was on the
Was there any
on the tray. But yeah, no, I mean when sports media is talking about it, you did the right thing. Matt, Mark, any thoughts on the closing seg?
Hey, where's the gabagool? So I thought I actually did see like this story popping up. I didn't watch the Wednesday Night Wars yet. It's still on my DVR, but you know, like you guys said, if it's popping up on social media, I'm seeing it, then job well done. That's what they were going for. Mike Tyson's always going to be a draw no matter what. So, I mean, if you have Iron Mike willing to like do these spots for your company, take advantage of that as much as you can, because he's always going to get eyes on the product. I know Mark probably has like an Iron Mike t-shirt, maybe like an old towel, and possibly like a cardboard standout in his attic somewhere.
I'd have to dig around, but I could probably find something Tyson related. I do have Mike Tyson's Punch Out up there on NES or Super NES.
Oh, I love that game.
Such a good game.
I broke my back. Stupid idiot.
He broke his back. I thought that
ahead,
Tyson segment was. I thought it was great. It really did feel like Austin Tyson rehash, but still, I thought it was really good. Tyson. I think Jericho got a little annoyed that Tyson was just kind of jumping in. It was pretty funny.
I mean,
Tyson was fired up.
And like I said it. You know, there was something in this week in wrestling that I saw a lot of people being like, oh, I think it had to do with the WWE bringing in the crowds or something like that. And, you know, the NXT, the trainees and stuff. And everybody's like, oh, there's copying AEW. And it's like, let's be honest. It's 2020. There's not a whole lot at this point that you can be totally original when it comes to professional wrestling. Like, I mean, do we want to say that the Stadium Stampede, the AEW was just copying the WWE by doing a cinematic match? Now, you know, NXT did no, and I'm not saying that, but like if you want, like if you really want to go down that copy road, like you can probably find any instant when anybody tries to do something different or whatever. Like, well, you got a good point where WWE is just copying Matt Hardy. But like there's now WWE with NXT, they did the fight pit last night, and I know they did like the dungeon match years ago with Shamrock and Owen Hart. Like, is AEW ever going to do like a real fight type like, it's 2020. You're not going to have a whole lot of originality in professional wrestling. Can we stop with the so-and-so is just copying so-and-so? If it's a good idea, then it's a good idea. Like, for months, people were complaining WWE didn't have crowds. Then you put people in the crowd and you're like, oh, they're just copying. Well, you can't have it both ways.
Here's the thing. To an extent, I agree. Because Lauren, my wife, watches wrestling with me on occasion. She tolerates it, I think, more than your wife does, Jim. So when we were watching AEW, I was catching up before the pay-per-view, and this was the first time she had sat down and watched it with me, because normally she's upstairs, I'm downstairs. So she was like, oh, how do they have fans? And I was like, oh, that's just wrestlers on the roster. And she was like, why doesn't WWE do that? I said, okay, that's fair. And I think, Ryan, you alluded to this last week. If they were going to do that, there would be a week or two where people were like, copied. You take your lumps, you say, yep, I copied, stole this idea. It's a good fucking idea. Sorry. And that's what we need to embrace. Like, so people saying they copied, we knew that was going to happen.
Sure.
But we can't really fault them for saying that, because there were always going to be those people that were going to come out and say, hey, you're just copying. Just because people can't let other people enjoy things, for the same reason that some fans chanted Husky Harris when Bray Wyatt debuted. Cool, you're knowledgeable. We get it. Applause. We always knew it was going to happen. So I don't necessarily fault the people for calling out the copying. WWE needs to take that on the chin, but please keep doing it, because the live audience thing makes it so much more enjoyable, 100 times more.
Yeah, I'll be the first one. Like, here's the thing: I did not dislike the WWE model with the empty arenas. I found it compelling to watch in a way. Like, now that said, this week a more enjoyable watch. Like, the nice thing about having wrestlers in the crowd is you can still do an effective promo, because they're not like, the wrestlers aren't going to hijack the promo, which is nice, because the thing that I enjoyed about the empty arena, completely empty arena, was promos I thought grabbed you a lot more. Now, you still saw the Edge one in the back that was able to grab you this past Monday, so you can still do things that are sans crowd. But definitely, I will agree, more enjoyable watch this past Monday. And even last night, the NXT.
When did all wrestling fans become the Simpsons did it crowd? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know, but you're right. It's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
I don't want to leave the AEW conversation without talking about Mickey Gooch.
Mickey Gooch.
Mickey Gooch was the guy next to Tyson that also ripped his shirt off for some reason.
Oh, the dude with like the blacked out eyes?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't even know who that was, to be honest with you.
It's an actor. His name is Mickey Gooch. Swear to God, it's his real name, Gooch. But I'm a big Mickey Gooch fan now. So
Who the hell is this?
Matt, you're an actor guy. You would know who Mickey Gooch is, right?
I'll look it up. The name doesn't sound familiar, but I probably have seen him in some stuff.
I feel like he was dating Rebel Wilson.
Who the hell is this?
That's the one guy's daughter.
Who the hell is this?
I know who Rebel Wilson is.
Yeah, no, I know who Rebel Wilson is. I still don't know who.
Rebel Wilson was in that movie about singing, right?
Sure.
Yeah, she was.
You're asking the wrong guy on that one.
Yeah, the Pitch Perfect. I like those movies.
Hopefully
really
next time Tyson's is going to do a spot, though, that they get him to pre-cut the shirt, because
that was rough.
That was tough to watch. Mike Tyson getting into a fight with a
I
T-shirt.
broke my back.
But again, I thought the show was really good. NXT, we had Drake Maverick advancing to the cruiserweight title final. Is he back with the WWE? Because I thought he was like 2 matches and done. Like this story has become really compelling. So I'm really curious to see what happens next week. I thought that Tommaso Ciampa, Scarlett Bordeaux, and the cross segment was really well done. That feud has me locked in.
This movie In the Name of God, which I assume was the sequel or the prequel to the resurrection of Gavin Stone. But beyond that, I got nothing, Ryan. Like, I haven't seen any of these movies.
Nobody has.
I've seen how.
Who the hell is this?
What's the guy's name again?
Gooch.
Mickey Gooch.
He was in Jay and Silent Bob reboot. So,
have you watched that, Matt?
No.
Okay, like I know it's on my Amazon Prime for free. I'm gonna check it out just to get it over with. But the fight pit on NXT last night, I freaking loved it. Now, Charlie, you keep beating the drum for another brawl for all. No, there should not be another brawl for all.
No,
like
SJR about that.
Just no. But I will say that if in the right circumstances they do another or more fight pit matches, I'm fine with that. But there should never, and I mean ever, be another brawl for all, ever. It was a terrible idea. Like if you it just bad. This match last night worked because of the people that were in it, not because of the setting. Like it had more to do with the people that were in it. And but no, I freaking loved it. If you have not watched the fight pit match from last night's NXT, find it. It's on demand. I'm sure, well, it's on the network now today, as of today, because the NXT gets put on there. So go to the network. You all have it. If you're watching us, you have the WWE network. Go to it, watch the fight pit, if nothing else from last night.
Do it. So good. You're going to love it.
It was great. It really was. I was surprised at the end result.
Yes.
I was too.
Charlie says he's not beating the drum for another one. He's saying if they would do it, they have talent like Riddle and O'Reilly who have an MMA background. Yeah, I just think no. Never do another brawl for all, ever. But I thought both Wednesday night shows really good this week. If you haven't seen either of them, I'd say go seek out both of them. You probably have a good bit of time. Like we're still responsibly doing the social distant thing, and even though things are reopening, you should still be smart and stay home as much as you can. So seek it out, check them out. You're gonna have time over the weekend because you're going to be good and responsible people who aren't going to like picnics and cookouts and things like that. So do the right thing, watch wrestling. That kind of rhymed. Now this was a topic that I don't know where it came into my head, but I wrote it down. This is a kind of a 2-part question. Is there a heel or face turn? We'll go with the first part. A heel or face turn that you think should not have happened? Any particular one that should not have happened? And I'll start it off. And he even says it to this day. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the handshake with McMahon, the fact that he didn't give McMahon the stunner at WrestleMania X7 in Texas, the fact that they stuck with him making that heel turn. I just thought it was like, why would you turn Stone Cold Steve Austin heel at that point? It was dumb beyond belief.
Yeah, Jim, I don't know if there's one that's I don't know if there's one that's going to be worse than that. The only thing I can think of is the 17th time the Big Show turned face would be the other one. I mean, 18 was good, 16 was fine. 17 though.
That 17th one was really.
I did him in. The fans gave up at the 17th face turn.
Yeah, it's got to be 17.
The 17th face turn for the Big Show was worse than the Big Show. Jim cannot, Matt. You know, this is ridiculous that you keep changing your name to take shots at me. I don't appreciate it.
I have a new one and it just crossed my mind. I just saw it while we were live here on 3 Count Thursday on the Zoom call. The biggest heel turn in history. The 2020 Elizabethtown Fair officially been canceled. Officially canceled. That has got
breaking news.
The biggest heel turn ever.
Are you serious? It's canceled.
It just ruined Mark's day, Ryan.
I know. I feel like a heel too, and I love it. The 2020 Elizabethtown Fair is officially canceled. The conditions imposed on us by the state make it impossible to hold the fair. We would be allowed to have only 200 people or 250 people at the fairgrounds at one time, and that won't work. That was their official statement on their Facebook page. That has got to be the biggest heel turn of this century.
My God.
Well, I'll tell you what else. There will be no Super Tuesday this year. It's over.
God. Mark, are you
Mark,
gonna
for
be
our
okay?
listeners, can you let everybody know what your Super Tuesday consisted of?
I might have to go for a little bit here. Well, Super Tuesday is the only Tuesday of the year where I can go to Roots Market in the morning, which is still open. Possibly this year I could go to my favorite restaurant, Hoss's Steak, and see where your family wants to eat. And then ordinarily, I would go to the Great Elizabethtown Fair, but now that's out the window. And on that same Tuesday, now this sounds like something you would do in an entire week or maybe a month. This is all on a single Tuesday in August. I would spend the final hours of that day at the sweetest place on earth, Hershey Park, which is also not open yet.
My God,
that's Super Tuesday.
Mark's life is just crumbling before us.
This is horrible. Jared in the comments says, "What's OG gonna do?" This is horrible.
Oh, it's terrible. It really is. You know what? I was hopeful because the Fabulous Grease Band just announced they were performing at the fair, and I thought, okay, if they're still signing people to perform, maybe there's a chance.
Man, but it struck down before it even hit its prime.
What about Dancing Don?
The
I
York
don't know how
Fair
many years he has
Academy.
left.
I'm sure the Allentown Fair is not going to be far behind. This is horrible. To brighten everybody's mood,
I didn't answer the question yet because we got sidetracked by Ryan claiming he was being a heel. Not that you're ever not. Like, Ryan, you're typically the heel of the show of all of us.
I mean, that's kind of true.
Thank you. So I have two answers to this question. I think that when they put Daniel Bryan in the Wyatt family, that was one of the dumbest moves they could have made.
That's solid.
They tried to make that a heel turn, but it did lead us to that epic scene in the car where Brie Bella gave us her fantastic showed off the acting chops and gave us a scream to
There's a clip I need to find.
Please do. And I will say, on the other side of the coin, the biggest heel turn that never happened was Big Match John. Never officially did a heel turn like we all wanted him to.
Well, that was the second part of the question. You got ahead of me on that one, Matt. Is there a turn that
I'm a heel too.
That's true. That is there a turn that never happened that should have? And I think resoundingly Big Match John turning heel. And I mean, to a lesser degree, and I guess it still could happen, probably unlikely, Roman Reigns as well. Like, I think, especially after the Undertaker match, I think you could have really flipped that switch. We're there near the end of the Shield. I think you could have flipped the switch. You could have done it to break up the Shield instead of Seth Rollins. And imagine how different WWE would be if Roman Reigns was the chairman, if you will, as opposed to Seth Rollins.
You guys definitely wouldn't own a "You Can't See Me" shirt if
that's true. I think maybe it would have been like, "You can't fist me." but it doesn't. Maybe Reigns misses the mark on the punch. I don't know. But yeah, I think Cena or Reigns would probably be the turn that didn't happen.
Ooh, ah.
I just because I went to try and confirm the details on this this tragic news about the E-Town Fair, but the WWE has posted a series of match T-shirts to the shop site. Some of the iconic matches
Wait,
of all time.
how did one thing lead to the other there?
Well, I was scrolling Facebook and I saw that as opposed to the announcement from the E-Town Fair. So they have things like Eddie Guerrero versus Brock Lesnar from No Way Out in 2004. The British Bulldog Bret Hart from SummerSlam 92. That iconic match of Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair from last year's WrestleMania. Rock versus Stone Cold WrestleMania X7 is on there. That SummerSlam 2016 classic, John Cena versus AJ Styles, that classic matchup. The Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12, and it has some others on there. So and they have all sizes on those, not just like small through medium.
Well, they're in big boy size.
They got some big boy sizes on
Hey
there.
there, big boy.
Oh, Charlie has a good one for turns that didn't happen. This recently confirmed. I don't know if it was confirmed before, but I know it was confirmed on the Talkin' Shop podcast with Eric Bischoff. Sting as the NWO's third man. That was actually the third man, not Mabel. Sting was to be the third man.
Ooh. Yeah, it's not a bad one.
But it was Hogan's idea to be the third man. So, but it would have been Sting. It would have been very interesting to see how that would have changed things if Sting would have been the third man. Do you have any other heel turns that should have happened or should not have happened? Not necessarily heel turns, but turns in general.
What about? Go ahead, Matt.
I was just gonna say at the end of the film, Ready to Rumble, if David Arquette's character had turned on Jimmy the King, and
that would have been awesome.
The title to DDP for his first, well, I mean, I guess not technically WWE title, but a title nonetheless for DDP.
That would have been epic. That would have been epic. Inter Mark, you got any?
If you go way back, I was going to say Tito Santana and Ricky Steamboat, as far as I know, never wrestled as heels their entire career that I can think of. So that would have been something.
Wow, you know
what? Either of them.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't recall a time when they would have been that could have been, those could have been interesting.
They're both such nice guys too, right? In general. Like, just for them to both turn on each other at the same time.
Right, yeah.
Did heel Bret Hart ever really go over well in WCW?
Bret Hart in WCW didn't go over well.
That's a good point, right? Chest protector, heel Bret Hart, like this didn't.
Yeah, no. Man.
Oh,
I think that's a topic to dig into another week too. Like,
I mean, it's tough for Bret Hart to even just turn the wheelchair at this
Oh,
point.
come on. Yeah, come on now. Shit.
That's a shame.
But like all-time ball drops by WCW, I feel like Bret Hart has to be up there because coming out of the screw job, to drop the ball that hard on Bret Hart was pretty big. Maybe that's something to dig into. That's one we're gonna have to do with Tim on the show, though. Like, I know Tim's our CM Punk to our WWE backstage, so we're gonna have to make sure that's definitely a show that Tim is on. Charlie says one he would change would be Jeff Hardy's turn and him joining Immortal in TNA.
Who the hell is this?
He said the Hardys never had a true heel run, which is true. I think that's fairly
part of the Brood. I mean, so the Brood was a heel faction, right?
Yeah.
So I guess
Wasn't Matt Hardy version 1 was a heel?
I guess so. Yeah, but I guess the
I
Hardys
believe
as a
so, yeah.
team, I guess
Yeah, the
the
Hardys as
team
a
never
team.
did.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so.
But I don't know that would be more. I'd be more like gimmick based. Like I would say like Batista or like Batista should have never been Deacon Batista. But that you're falling into like gimmicks that shouldn't have happened as opposed to like turns that shouldn't have happened, which is another topic we can dig into on another day.
Yeah, that'd be a fun show.
Sure. Charlie also said Mike Awesome was a big ball drop.
Who the hell is
Oh,
this?
For sure.
did they ever?
For sure.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah,
Oh,
that
came
could
in
be a
as,
podcast in and of itself. WCW's dropping the ball.
I mean, we did.
Awesome came in as he was the active heavyweight champion for ECW when WCW had him on Nitro, and they still dropped the ball on him.
We did plan on doing like a worst storylines episode, so I mean these can all be
Sure.
I mean, that would be like a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah, that would have to be like a marathon or on a weekend, I believe. But yeah, we'll put that on the back burner. All right, a couple of news pieces here before we round out the week. Earlier this week, Drew Gulak moved back to the active roster. He's expected to be back on SmackDown
Amazing.
this week. He signed a new contract just over a week after his previous one expired. Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that he was not looking to do independent dates. What independent dates? And promoters that tried to book him were under the impression that he already had a destination. That destination turned out to be the WWE. Meltzer said, quote, I know people who tried to book him for future dates because he was a free agent. He could have been on Double or Nothing. When people tried to contact him, they knew he was going somewhere because he was not interested in anything. So it was pretty much assumed it's either WWE or AEW. He had pretty much made up his mind he wasn't going anywhere else. Money had been the reason why Gulak did not previously sign his deal with WWE. So the presumption here is that he did indeed get the money he was looking for, but no details were released on the contract. So good to see Gulak back. I mean, it was a bummer that he wasn't re-signed. I know a lot of the news with the Z sites had reported that he was released by WWE, which just wasn't the case. It was a negotiation thing, and it happens, and it worked out for itself. But the question is, and now, obviously Gulak had been paired with Daniel Bryan, kind of a team role. The start of the Intercontinental title tournament, Gulak's previously last match with WWE was the opening round against Daniel Bryan. But we have the final four now in the Intercontinental title tournament. Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy. Elias taking on AJ Styles. Those matches will occur on SmackDown tomorrow night on Fox. Does the Gulak re-signing have any impact on how you want to see this tournament come out? Because I think a lot of people have kind of been hoping, myself included, for a AJ Styles Daniel Bryan final to this tournament. For me, AJ Styles picking up the win and the Intercontinental title seems to be the route that I thought they would be going. It's the only title singles title AJ has not won in the WWE. So with Gulak's re-signing, would you now want to see maybe Daniel Bryan pick up the championship and start a feud with Daniel Bryan coming out of this? Does it have any impact on your Intercontinental title hopes?
No, two things I want to touch on. First of all, the Gulak re-signing, I think, is good news for somebody like Drake Maverick, who still finds himself in that tournament, and that maybe the WWE is still willing to sign people that have walked away or let go or anything like that. So I think that's really good news for Drake Maverick. But no, I'd like to still see. I don't think you bring AJ over to not do something with him.
Sure, yeah, because that was announced that it was a trade for superstars to be named later. That was announced last week.
I just don't think you do that for no reason. So, but I don't know. I'd love to see the Drew Gulak Daniel Bryan matches with a championship hanging in the balance in the future. So I don't know. I'm torn either way.
Yeah, very good. Intern Mark.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I really, the pairing with Gulak and Daniel Bryan. The only reason they're pairing them is for Bryan to start putting Gulak over. It's got to happen because Bryan's kind of winding down his career, and I think he's going to do that with some of these younger wrestlers. But I would love to see that match with the IC belt on the line. But I think Styles is going to take it, at least for now.
Yeah, Matt. The question: does Drew Gulak re-signing have any impact to you on the way the Intercontinental title tournament plays out? Like, I think for a lot of people, AJ Styles getting the title seemed to be the logical route. But does this make you want to see them put it on Daniel Bryan so it can begin a feud with Drew Gulak for the title?
I mean, at this point, I'm assuming all the tapings are done. So unless there's some interference where Gulak costs Daniel Bryan the title, I don't think it'll necessarily have any impact. But no, I mean, either way, I mean, what's done is done. But I mean, I am looking forward to the Gulak Bryan feud when it happens. I think that's going to be a ton of fun. But it makes the most sense to give that ugly belt stuff.
All right. And then the final kind of topic I have here is it was reported by WrestleVotes on Twitter that the WWE officials are reportedly working on plans to resume regular live event touring. It remains to be seen when they will move forward with the touring schedule, but they are slowly looking at rebuilding their live event schedule. It should be noted that nothing is expected when fans attending events at least before July, but things are apparently happening behind the scenes so that the company will be ready when they are given permission to resume touring amid the coronavirus pandemic. There have been discussions about ticket sales for arena events moving forward with social distancing guidelines in place. It will be interesting to see how the outbreak changes the live event model when touring resumes. As previously reported, there's talk keeping the new plexiglass shields, obviously, which we saw on Raw this week, and taller ringside barriers as the new norm for the WWE. And WWE obviously will be faced with tricky obstacles and factors to deal with during the pandemic. What did you guys think of the hockey glass, if you will, for Raw this week with the crowd?
First of all, I hate the term new norm. I know that's where we're living at. I don't like it already.
Norm, difficult times, trying times, all those catchy phrases. I'm so sick of hearing them. Really, I am.
Yeah, getting sick of that.
Uncharted territory.
Right. That's it. Yep. I think it's smart for them to roll it out, and you can see it on TV. So when they roll this out on live events and with fans in the with the stands, it's not a surprise that they can no longer reach over and touch or slap the hands of the fans, at least during these trying times. If we get vaccinated, whatever, and it's proven that we're good to go back to life pre-COVID-19, then we can always remove those. But I think it's smart to get them up and let them be visible now to people. So when they do bring back live touring, they're not surprised at their front row seat that they can no longer reach out and slap the hand of Bo Dallas when he comes out for his warm-up match.
Here's the thing, like, it was they copied AEW with putting wrestlers in the crowd, but they put their own spin on it. I have no problems with it. And again, I think that's a great point, Ryan, it's that buffer point where you become accustomed to seeing it, so that when we finally hit that point, and we're going to hit that point. I mean, the NFL's talking about doing a percentage capacity crowd come this fall. College football is beginning to weigh those options as well. Depending and the impact of the virus is going to impact when we see crowds and how many how many people in crowds we're going to see. But I think this provides a great buffer for it. So any other thoughts on and here's the thing, there's going to hit a point where live shows resume. At some point it's going to happen. We're like wrestling is not forever going to be in the confines of the Performance Center and Daly's Place. So, but Matt and Mark, your thoughts on the plexiglass and the potential live touring schedule.
Yeah, I mean, like Ryan said, it's a good preface to what we need to be accustomed to. Because even when, I don't know what other states are doing, but Pennsylvania has their 3 different phases, and so when every state is in their respective green phase, that doesn't mean all bets are off. So there are going to be precautions in place. So I think we all just need to start getting used to what things are going to be like for the next, couple months, years, however long it takes until we can get back to normal. Not the new norm, but something else. But I think that, it's good to get people accustomed to what's going to be commonplace in the future. And it's not just extended to these shows. Like our meet and greet's going to be a thing for the next couple months, years. Probably not. So
Yeah.
we start getting people ready for what's going to be, because we all want to get back to some sort of normalcy, but that's not going to be a thing for quite some time. So we need to start adjusting, and this is the first step.
Yeah, I think if putting that plexiglass up is the first step in getting fans back into the arenas, then it's a necessary step, but I'm okay with it. I prefer not to have it, but I totally understand why they're doing it. So,
yeah, Devin says, he thinks it's weird they had no chairs, for the people to sit in. Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's a different aspect. Yeah, Charlie, AEW does. I think when superstars are around the ring, the crowd, if you will, stands up. But they at least can sit down. And maybe WWE will switch that up. Maybe they'll pull a couple of the chairs off of the WWE shop site and let these superstars sit on them.
I mean, Mark's probably used to the plexiglass anyway. I mean, I know when you go to like Bowser shows at Hershey Park, they have like protective screens so the audience can't get Bowser wet. Is that correct?
That's right. They got to keep the rabid fans, if you will, away from Bowser. When he comes out there with those Converse sneakers on and the black T-shirt with the cut off sleeves, I mean, you gotta hold the fans back.
Yeah, no doubt. Then the other thing,
I got a comment real quick in one of the watch parties. Rick brings up a good point. It doesn't matter really if they have plexiglass. For a fan's point of view, if they're still going to have fans like shoulder to shoulder. So I guess we're assuming they would come back 6 feet apart. I mean, that's a lot of real estate if you're the WWE selling front row, second row tickets to, properly social distance. And again, I don't know what a lot of these green faces are going to look like. But he makes a good point. It doesn't matter it protects fan from wrestler.
Yeah, I think if and when we see crowds back, that at the start there will be space between fans. So I don't think you're going to see people shoulder to shoulder for a while. I think you're more in the line of the 6 feet or 10 feet or whatever between chair to chair. But yeah, I think it's more separating superstar from fan, because the superstars themselves, and I know like WWE has their own testing procedure, that and AEW has their testing procedure. So, to a degree, they are protected. You can check temperatures of people coming in, but the thing we've learned is, you can spread it if you don't show any symptoms. So, fans coming in, if they don't have a temperature, theoretically they could still be sick and spread it. So you want to keep that barrier. Now, obviously, people can spread it to each other. But I guess that's going to be left up to the fan to decide if they feel safe enough to go to the shows. But the WWE is trying to protect themselves, and their talent and their staff. So that is what the plexiglass would be for, on that end.
Do we all think that wrestling will be the first sport to have fans back? And if not, what sport do you think you will see fans in stadiums and in crowds and arenas first?
If it's not wrestling, it'll be football, be it college or NFL or both. But if wrestling doesn't do it between now and September, I think not necessarily that it happens in September, but I think that football will be the one that wins the race out of real sports.
Okay.
I mean, what are we quoting as real sports? Because I mean, we talked earlier that like NASCAR and golf are sort of back. So, I mean, I think both of those could realistically open their doors to some fans.
Yeah, I mean, golf, I think is the easiest sport to do without a crowd ever.
Right.
You know, and that's coming from a golfer standpoint. Is
I mean, easily come back with no fans. I mean, between like the ball boys, the line judges, the refs in tennis, like you do not need to get close to each other.
No.
Change those balls out every single turn, and the ball boys wear gloves. So,
oh my,
yeah, it's between those two sports, golf and tennis, you don't necessarily need fans, but those would make sense as the first to come back, and then the first to like test out having spaced out fans because of what they're doing.
Good night, Charlie. Too sweet, brother.
Take care.
Yeah, I just think that to me, you know, football seems to be the one that is pressing on the hardest. I mean, I know the NHL has made it a point that they've laid out this plan to return to action. However, you know, Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, was like very upfront about the fact that, like, you know, this is still a work in progress, and pretty much it could go away. You know, the NBA is still trying to figure out what they want to do. Major League Baseball, they can't figure it out from a money standpoint. It's not even a safety standpoint. It's a money standpoint. Which I might tackle that on my old Huddle Up podcast here in the coming days, because I think baseball's,
because I feel like you and I will have different opinions on that. So please have me in on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, you know, baseball's at an interesting crossroads to themselves, if nothing else. But you know, I think and the NFL, I feel like the NFL is the league that's like the pulse of the United States. Like it's the most popular sport and whatever. So like I think the NFL is going to do their best. I mean, what Troy Vincent, like who's like one of their like player reps to the league, was like, we're gonna do everything we can to have people in the stadiums this fall. Like I think NASCAR and golf and everything else has kind of been like, you know, we're coming back without crowds. Like they haven't even like, I know golf. I don't know about NASCAR, but I know golf hasn't even begun like the process of even discussing bringing crowds back. So I just feel like the NFL is at the forefront of like, we want people to be in the crowd, because I just think that's the way football, and for college football, that's why I included them in it. College football funds these you know, athletic departments at these universities across the board. We've seen some universities like, you know, they've already shut down their baseball programs, or, you know, they've shut down different sports because they're aware of the situation. Like they don't have the funding right now. So I do think, if not wrestling, I do think it'll be football.
Yeah, I know NASCAR has released their schedule through June the 21st, and all of those races, there will be no fans present for them, and that is their like amended schedule to bang out races, some during the week, some on the weekends, to kind of get caught up to where they were. And it really, NASCAR is a sport where they make all their money through sponsorships. A lot of the individual teams make money about like the logo on their hood. And then dominantly they make a shitload of money on TV through advertisements. So I don't think they're banking on fans to
hell,
really
if you looked at
line
some of
the
these truck
pockets.
series races over the last couple of years, they've already been socially distant.
Right. You can easily socially distance those. What's hurting are like the tracks, the people that work at them.
Sure.
For the busy weekends. I think the each individual town NASCAR tracks aren't in the most populated towns. Dover, Delaware, for instance, isn't the biggest metropolitan city or something, but heavily relies on like Dover NASCAR weekends. And even like Firefly, the concert weekends that they had down there, that's really hurting like their local economy.
Sure.
But I think NASCAR will survive without fans just fine. But from the article I quickly looked up, they are hopeful that fans will be able to be in a race at some point this season.
Right. Here's the thing. Like this has been kind of the tone from the beginning, not just from a wrestling standpoint, but just everything going on in general. Like, it's my hope that, 6 months from now, a year from now, we can look back at this and go, wow, we really outkicked our coverage on the safety precautions on this thing. Like, we didn't necessarily have to shut this down as hard as we did. We didn't necessarily have to do all the things that we did, but here we are. Like, I would much rather be that way. Like, I'd much rather WWE start off, Madison Square Garden with 4,000 people. And then you look back on it and go, wow, we could have done 15 as opposed to like, shit, we did 20 and we fucked this whole thing up. We put so many people in danger. Like, so it's my hope that 6 months from now, we're like, we have full arenas and we're going, we're totally good here. That's, that's what we hope. You got to hope for it to be on the positive end. But really, and this is the last thing, and I'm stealing this from Tim and his other podcast, The Final Wrestling Place. Who do you think, and I'm just going to go AEW or WWE, out of the two big wrestling companies, who do you think will be the first one to do a live show with crowd, and where do you think that show will be?
Real
start
quick,
to you, Ryan.
Real quick, in the watch party again that I have, Rick wants to point out, Jim, you have some shit on your hat. It's just just go like this. Yeah, go like that. Does that wipe off?
No, it's
I guess
right
it ain't coming off.
I guess.
Odd. It's absolutely the WWE. There's no way in hell Vince McMahon lets AEW beat them to the punch. Absolutely 100% WWE.
Who is that asked that? Rick?
That's Rick Rick Delk. Rick Delk says he's just got some shit up there.
Fuck you, buddy.
But Ryan says the WWE. Matt, your thoughts on who will be the first to run?
100% WWE. Not even just because Vince doesn't want to not be beat, just because Vince does not give a shit about anything or anyone but money. So Vince.
Mark, who do you think?
It's got to be WWE. It's going to happen. I agree with Matt. Vince doesn't care. He's missing out on that money right now. He's really got to be hurting this year.
Yeah, the XFL died. Merchandising has to be down.
I don't know that he could have a worse year.
You're digging into the warehouse, digging out old pay-per-view chairs to try and peddle on the WWE shop. You're definitely hurting for money. Yeah, it's going to be the WWE. Devin says it's going to be AEW. He thinks it's going to be in Chicago. I absolutely think it's going to be the WWE. And quite frankly, I think it's in Florida somewhere. Whether it's Full Sail or whether it's an actual, hockey arena, Tampa Bay or something like that, or hell, maybe you do something on a beach and Daytona Beach, or you go WCW style and do Bash at the Beach. But it's absolutely going to be WWE. I think it's going to be somewhere in Florida because, let's be honest, Florida has been probably one of the most relaxed states as it comes to these lockdown situations. So Ryan, since we all agree that it's the WWE, where do you think that first show will be?
I think a more interesting question is, will it be pro wrestling or will it be UFC? And I truthfully believe the UFC will be the WWE to have fans in there.
Dana White also does not give a fuck about people.
Zero fucks given.
He might give less fucks than Vince McMahon. Let's be honest.
I mean, there was talk of like buying an island or some shit just to still have their fights with fans. So absolutely the UFC. And I'm going to see that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy some island and say, this is our island. You can buy a ticket and come if you want. UFC on an island.
They could run a show over in Sweden, couldn't they? Didn't Sweden?
Yeah, he didn't lock down.
They had
Have
no
you guys
lockdowns.
been to Sweden this time of year?
Oh,
Beautiful.
it's beautiful. Stockholm is just delightful this time of year.
Love it. So
Matt,
nice.
where do you think the show will be?
You know what? I'm a crowd pleaser. That's who I am. I'm the crowd pleaser of 3 Count Thursday. Ryan's the heel. Jim's the moderate. You know what? The WWE is going to be hosting their comeback show at the Giant Center to coincide with the reopening of Hershey Park.
Wow.
So
That, you know what? That would make up for all of this.
He will go to Zoo America in the morning, Chocolate World in the afternoon. He'll hit the Wild and then he'll catch the first live WWE show that.
I can almost taste those milkshakes at Chocolate World.
Man. Mark, where do you think the WWE show? Devin says he was trying to think differently, which is fine. If it is AEW, I almost willing to guarantee it will be Chicago, either Chicago or Daly's Place. But Chicago definitely seems to run the AEW market. But Mark, where do you think this hypothetical WWE show will be?
Hypothetical. I think it's going to be, it's going to be in Florida, maybe Tampa to make up for WrestleMania. I think it's definitely going to be Florida.
And I think Tim and Marcus touched on this. What if they would do a stadium show, socially distant stadium show? So you bring in that WrestleMania set and you bring in 10,000 people and spread them across an NFL stadium. Why not?
They could still run some of the. They could still run some of those matches from WrestleMania. I think the fans would still want to see them, even though they would be rematches.
Yeah, I'd be all right with it. Really, that's all I got this week, guys. I don't know if you guys have anything else or if we can roll this thing out of here.
Couple things, sure.
If
you're not following the Instagram page this week, in honor of what happened last week, what I'm doing on the Instagram page is just showcasing wrestlers and content creators that we love as fans of wrestling. So, a lot of negative shit goes on. A lot of negative things are said. So what I'm taking this week to do is just to shout out the wrestlers and the content creators that we love, because not enough good things are said, especially right now. A lot of focus on negativity. So this week, 3 Count Thursday on Instagram is shouting out wrestlers, male and female. I know we normally do the woman of the week. That's on hiatus for now. So, today it was Vanity. It was Tony Deppen, two awesome people, both in and out of the ring. Content yesterday, so YouTube, podcasts that we like, photographers that we enjoy. That's going to be the focus all week. So check that out. Follow those people. Put in the comments what you love about those wrestlers if you know who they are. I know we got some comments about Tony Deppen today. So good stuff. Like, keep promoting that. Let us know what you love about these people. That's what we want to push. And check out our YouTube page this week. I'm taking a break from the interviews and just doing something else. So starting tomorrow, not to steal Mark's thunder, because I'm going to let him talk about his side project that's coming tomorrow night.
Oh.
But what I'm doing is I am going to be interviewing some wrestlers. It's a quick 3 to 5 minute ordeal that we're going to be putting on the YouTube page. So it'll be some fun stuff. So make sure you're checking out our YouTube starting tomorrow night. I'm going to start posting that stuff. But Mark, take it away.
Well, hold on. Yeah, just so you know where the YouTube is, and also Matt, I love what you've been doing with the Instagram this week. There definitely needs to be more positivity, not just in the wrestling world, but in the world in general. Things have obviously been fairly shitty for the last couple months. So anytime we can get some positivity out there. But for the YouTube page, you can obviously search 3 Count Thursday on YouTube, but also tinyurl.com/3CT YouTube. You can go right there. Devin's checking out. Devin, hope you have a good rest of the week, bud. Take care of yourself. Hang in there and keep your chin up, bud. Intern Mark, what do you got going on?
Well, you know what? I'm going to just throw out there the Instagram page that I really am enjoying it this week. And I enjoy it every week. But there's so many hardworking young men and women on there that Matt is recognizing. And so many that we have met, and they are really, really good people. They're a great follow. Anybody on there that we're putting up here this week, really go check them out. Give them a like. give them a follow. Really, like I said, there's some really good, hardworking men and women on there. But anyway, tomorrow night, if all goes well, a little side project we're doing here through 3 Count is we're going to do an interview with Gypsy Mac, who's a professional wrestler out on the West Coast. And the answer to her prayers, and Matt, I might get her name wrong, so I'll let you. I don't want to mispronounce her name. Ariella, is that it?
Ariella Nix, yep.
Ariella Nix is going to be. The three of us are going to be talking, not necessarily about wrestling, but we're all completely hooked on the TLC program, 90 Day Fiance. So that's what. If all goes well, the three of us are just going to sit and talk about it. And I could talk for hours about it. It's such an addicting train wreck of a show, but I'm really looking forward to it.
You're a goddamn genius.
Yeah, I've not watched a single second of that show, and I will be looking forward to this broadcast for sure.
The show is just, I don't know how many seasons it's been, but there's a lot of spin-off shows of it. And I honestly went through and caught up on everything. I've been watching it for over a year. And
That's
the current season, it really is.
I mean, Mark, I get it, man. I watch like MTV's Real World. I watch The Challenge. So I mean, I get it. I mean, obviously, I watch the WWE reality shows, the Bellas, the Total Divas, Total Bellas, Miz and Mrs. But the Challenge and the Real World stuff. That's my guilty pleasure when it comes to reality TV. So I'm there with you, bro. I get it. You gotta do it.
It's unreal. You get so hooked on it, and you just can't believe these people are real. But sadly, they are. And the current season has a lady from York, which is very close to where we live. And Matt, you're actually she's practically your neighbor.
Pride of York.
And, yeah, I wouldn't be proud of this one, but. And a few seasons ago, they had a woman on there from Mechanicsburg. So I have a few local folks on there, but boy, this show is. If you check it out, it's a train wreck, and it just gets worse. But it's so entertaining.
So what's cool is I'm gonna be the host of this, which means I'm gonna let them use the Zoom account. So
Matt's gonna hit record and sit back.
He's gonna walk away.
Listen in.
Boy, it's something. I've got about 4 pages of notes already for it. I'm not even lying.
That is real. Ryan, what do you got going on?
I got the weekend off, man. I ain't doing shit.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect. I'm
just Netflixing. I'm binging on Netflix. I watched Dead to Me. I thought that was a fun show.
I
really enjoyed that. Ozark, I'm finished with that. Ozark is so good. I love that.
I have one episode of Glow in the 3rd season left. One episode left. Yeah, I'm up through the second to last episode. That they threw that threesome in on me. That was a shocker.
Yeah,
did not see that coming.
Yeah, wowie.
But yeah, so that was something. But yeah, one episode of Glow. Still working through some Letterkenny on Hulu. So
yes.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. But time off. If you're still working, whatever, time off is a great thing. My dad, he works at a hardware store, and they said they're fucking crazier than ever. Mark, I know you understand that boat.
Yep.
But my dad had 3 days off this week, and he said he didn't do anything at all today. He was in bed till like 11 in the morning. I said, dude, you've earned it, man. My dad's 60 some years old, dude, like working his ass off out there. For everybody that's doing that, stay safe. But yeah, let's put a bow on this week's show, man. It was a good one. I think we all needed it. It's been a quite the week as it comes to wrestling. So make sure you follow us on all of our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, are all at 3Count Thursday. Go to 3countthursday.com. That is our homepage. You'll find all the links: YouTube, our subscribe links for our show, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, all of that. You can also get our merchandise, whatamaneuver.net. You can get our Collar and Elbow brand deal, 10% off of all orders at Collar and Elbow brand store. Our home network, NGSC Sports. We stream daily at leibsports.com. Ryan, you want to hit it?
What a maneuver!
Thank you. LEEIB sports.com. Until next week, everybody, we love you. Stay safe, stay smart, wash your hands, go for the pin.